Let me know when you guys are ready for me to start.
Yeah, it's 4 p.m.
You're good, and the recording started, so you're good.
Okay. I would like to call the meeting of the St. Louis County Board of Zoning Adjustment to order. The board members present today are Angelia Bills, Chair, Justin Randall, Vice Chair, and Vincent Nutt, Member. The Department of Planning staff members are Debbie Nesbitt, Gretchen Arnold, and Abiola Adesana. Also on the call is John Burford from the County Counselor's Office. First, I'd like to offer into the record the affidavit of publication pertaining to today's meeting, August 21st, 2024. The board hereby takes official notice of and admits into evidence on the record the St. Louis County Zoning Ordinance, Chapter 1003, St. Louis County Revised Ordinance 1974 as amended, and Chapter 1004, St. Louis County Revised Ordinance 1974 as amended. Next, I'd like to call for a motion to approve the minutes of the previous BZA meeting of August the 7th, 2024.
I move to approve the minutes of the August 7th meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. This meeting is conducted as a teleconference and is recorded. The planning staff will read each request into the record and present technical advice to the board if needed. The petitioner will be unmuted, state their name, and make a brief presentation to the board explaining the reason and hardship for the requested variance. The board will not consider financial hardships. Board members may ask questions to clarify the facts. When the board is satisfied with the material presented, the chairperson will then ask if there is anyone in favor or opposition to the request. To do so, click the hand next to your name. If any comments were submitted, staff will read them into the record. Before a call for the vote, the petitioner will may request a continuance in order to bring in additional documentation. The board may also request a continuance to gather additional information or for a visit to the site. Once comments have been heard, the chairperson will call for a vote at that time. The discussion is ended, no further discussion is permitted. The board will generally make a decision today. If a variance is approved, the petitioner has 6 months to obtain the necessary permits or establish the use requested, or the variance will expire. The petitioner or any interested party has a right of appeal to the St. Louis County Circuit Court. Paperwork indicating the board's decision will be mailed to the petitioners.
Okay. 78-24 John Bubenick is a request for an exception to the side yard regulations for the purpose of constructing a shed at 9 Montour Court, maintaining a side yard of 5 feet in lieu of 8 feet as required by the R3 Residence District regulations of the St. Louis County Zoning Ordinance. I have requested that you unmute yourself, John. Please state your name and proceed with your case.
This is John Bubenick. Last year, in good faith, we purchased and installed a prefab shed. We had been instructed by a contractor that a building permit would not be required. Perhaps he was not aware that the size of this shed was larger than the county's stipulation that anything more than 120 square feet have a building permit. So after it was placed and filled with items for storage, we learned that we needed a building permit. We created the drawing and learned that there's supposed to be 8 feet or more between our shed and the neighbor's yard. So the vast majority of the shed is within that requirement, but about 4.5 feet of it in this wedge-shaped lot is closer to the neighbor's property than the 8 feet. It's about 5.5 feet. Because of the shape of the lot and the way the driveway runs right up to this shed, we thought that was a good place to put it for appearance sake, not too close to the house, not on the neighbor's yard. I think that's as much information as I have to offer.
Okay, so you said that you was not aware of the requirement when you placed it there?
That's correct.
Was there any other hardship reason for placing it in that area?
The only other issue that comes to mind is the challenge to move it now that it's in place and filled.
Okay.
This is one other thing that may be of interest. Our neighbor told us that when they moved in 40 years ago, they were not certain where the property line was. So they determined that the line there that you see on the edge of the driveway was probably the edge of our property. And so they put a fence in line with that. And that's where we're coming up with the idea of we're 5.5 feet away from their property. We're 5.5 feet from that fence, which may or may not be their property line.
Okay. Debbie, did we do a survey to see where their actual property line is? You're on mute.
No, for a survey, they would need to do that. We do not do surveys.
Okay.
Is this shed?
I mean,
this shed-
that's a kind of a interesting lot in terms of its setbacks and kind of the shape of it. Is that true? I mean, it kind of looked like on that aerial that it's kind of a weird lot off the cul-de-sac.
Yes, wedge-shaped lot, sort of.
Mhm.
I don't have any further
Oh,
questions.
what exactly is stored in the building?
A variety of items, mostly for my work. I'm a painting contractor.
Okay,
This
and
commercial use. Can you hear me?
Sorry, did you ask a question?
Yeah, I was saying two questions. So you said it was for storage for a painting business. So is this a commercial use?
This is my business, and I operate out of my home.
Okay. And then the other question I had on it is the shed, it says a prefab shed, but does it sit on any foundation?
It has a contained foundation skids. So we're dealing with another department in the county to arrange to have the concrete piers put underneath the skids so that we can anchor it to the concrete piers.
Okay.
But we want to make sure we need to move, whether or not we need to move it before we do any of that work.
right.
So I mean, if you're having to do all of that work, couldn't you just move it the 4 additional feet?
That work can be done without moving it.
Oh,
Mhm.
The storage comes into being a problem also, since it's used for storing business equipment. That is not allowed in a residential use.
So I'm a sole proprietor. That doesn't have any bearing on it.
No.
What should I do with items that I use on a regular basis?
You would have to remove them from the premises. The only thing with a home occupation is you cannot have any employees, basically anything but paperwork. You cannot have storage of items for your business or any kind of storage for it on the property.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, learning something else today. So it's not like we won't have use for it if we get rid of all the work-related items. There's plenty of other stuff in the house that we'd like to be able to move into the shed instead.
Okay. Question about the shed. Is it oversized in any way or is it within those requirements?
The footprint is 11 feet wide, which we see on this photo, and it's 24 feet deep.
Okay, so it's not oversized then.
No.
Okay. Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, is there anyone here in favor or opposition?
We have Joanne here on call. Joanne, I've requested that you unmute yourself. Please state your name to the board and proceed with your case.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I disagree with everything what John said.
Real
John,
quick, Joan, can you state your name for the record, please?
Joan Prather.
Okay, thank you. You can continue on.
Okay, John has for about 8 or 10 years continued to put junk around his house. There's no other description. It was junk. My husband and I hated to tell him about it, but because we didn't want to make a problem with the neighbor. But he had stuff piled up next to his garage, which every morning when we opened the shades, we could see this junk. Ladders, paint cans, just junk. We had a realtor come in, like I said, this is probably about 8 or 10 years ago. And she said, Prathers, you cannot sell your house with that junk. So I contacted Grayler Association. They contacted John. It was an ordeal. Finally, the county came out and they made him remove his junk out of that. If you stand in John's backyard and look at his house, the whole back of the house is junk. There's no other word for it. It's trash. So then in, I think it was like 23, he told me he was going to put, and here's where we have a big problem. He approached me and he said, I want to bring in a garage. And he said, and he showed me where it was going to be. We're going to have to go over your yard, but I'm going to protect your yard. So I said, well, I wasn't sure about that. I thought about it the next day. I said, John, that's too close to my property. That is too close. When we moved in here, we had 3 little kids and a dog. We talked to the neighbor that lived there then. We said, we got to put a fence up. Can we put it here? Because there was a lot of brush and hedges and whatever. So we put the fence up with a lot of our property on John's side. Some of that property is mine, but we put the fence up. We were kind of desperate. The neighbor was great. He said, fine, do it. So that fence line is not the property line. I told John that you need to have your property surveyed to see where the property line is. And he hasn't done that. Okay, I don't want to make this too long, but this is a 60-year plus neighborhood. We all work hard to keep our property up. This is a lot of us, this is our main investment. If the realtor says you can't sell your house, John has deflated my investment and he doesn't think anything of it. We have these rules in Grayler that you can't put a structure in your backyard. It says if you want me to, I'll read it. It says you can't do that. And John defies that. He's just a very difficult neighbor. And he had that door open one day as I was driving into my driveway. He's got a mattress in that. And he probably has paint and brushes and everything else, but there was a twin mattress. And I said, if the health department would just look at the back of his house, the whole back of the house is nothing but trash. I've got pictures. I've shown these to numerous people and they say, that is trash. That needs to be, you need to call the health department. And I think that's it. Oh, and then one other thing, if you give him an exemption or exception, who's to say some other neighbor down the street will say, oh, I'm going to put in a landscaping business. I need lawnmowers and rakes and wheelbarrows. I want to put in a garage just like John. And John, you started calling that a shed about a week after you put that in because you found out that the sheds in the neighborhood, that's what they were. They were sheds. You cannot get a car in my shed. You can get a car in your garage. Up now. John is very difficult to work with.
Okay. Are there any others in favor or opposition?
The board did receive an email from Mr. Schlurth about concerning this garage also, and he was one of the trustees for the subdivision.
Okay.
So just to be clear, if we were to deny this and he were to come back and say, okay, I'm going to move it to meet the 8 foot, the shed, garage, whatever, could be permitted by St. Louis County. Is that correct?
Yes.
And also all of the other issues regarding, now the county would deal with him running a business out of there, but as long as he wouldn't use that for a commercial structure, he could be allowed to place the structure there. And if it goes against the bylaws of the subdivision, then they would have to address that. Is that correct as well?
Yes, that's correct.
I just wanted to make sure that Joan knew that even if the variance is denied, he could potentially move it and then it becomes a private matter.
Yes. If he was going to use it for a vehicle, which he could, then he would need to change something about the driveway so that it was all, if he has to move it over, it might not be all paved there. So he would have to fix that part.
Okay, very good.
Okay. Okay, is there anyone else in favor or opposition?
I do not see any hands at this time, so I've muted the petitioner and Joanne so that the board can make their vote.
Okay, and what is the numbers for this?
78-24.
Okay. In the matter of 78-24, I vote to deny the variance.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. The motion carries. Request is denied.
79-24 in osmos is a request for an exception to the side and rear yard regulations for the purpose of constructing a retaining wall and fence at 1860 Lake Heights Lane, maintaining both side yards of 0 feet in lieu of 6 feet and a rear yard of 0 feet in lieu of 15 feet, as required by the R3 Resident District Regulations and the Density Development Procedure of the St. Louis County Zoning Ordinance. I have requested that you unmute yourself, Mr. Trenton. Please state your name to the board and proceed with your case.
My name is Trenton Johnson. I'm representing Enos Moss at 1860 Lake Heights Lane. We are proposing to essentially remove this easement. Basically, with that easement, it drops 4 feet from the top to the bottom in such a short span that it's become a hazard for him to mow. And he has also personally hurt himself trying to mow that. And he has a little grandson who's maybe 3 or 4 years old who's fell back there, hurt himself. So we're proposing to build a retaining wall and a fence to kind of enclose that off and remove that harsh area to mow so he doesn't hurt himself or anyone else. We do already have approval from utility companies, Ameren, Spire. Everybody is saying there's nothing that's going to affect that where we're putting this wall. That's pretty much what I got.
Okay. Are there any questions?
I noticed on the application that it said a retaining wall and fence. Can you clarify the height of the proposed fence?
The fence would be 4 foot tall.
No other questions for me.
Justin, did you have any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone here in favor or opposition?
Yeah, we have Katina here. Katina, I've requested that you unmute yourself. Please state your name to the board and proceed.
Hi, my name is Katina Light. I'm a neighbor. I live right next door to Mr. Moss. Um, I'm in favor of it. It doesn't bother me as long as it's not, over on my property. I have
Okay.
no objection to it.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else?
I do not see any hands at this time, so I've muted Katina so that the board can take a vote.
In the matter of 79-24, based on the slope of the property, I'll make a motion to approve the variance as advertised.
I second it, and I would add that it would be, it would improve the safety of the backyard. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, none opposed, the motion carries.
80-24, Rayan Martin is a request for an exception to the floodplain regulations for the purpose of replacing a deck and stairs at 9927 Baywood Terrace, maintaining a side yard of 0 feet in lieu of 25 feet and a rear yard of 0 feet in lieu of 25 feet from the existing floodplain line as required by the RPR4 Floodplain Residence District Regulations and Section 1003.101 Flood Regulations of the St. Louis County Zoning Ordinance. I have requested that you unmute yourself, Kelly Martin. Please state your name to the board and proceed with your case.
We currently have deteriorating. So we are just looking to replace it and just enlarge it some.
Okay, can you state your name again for the record?
I'm sorry, Kelly Martin.
Okay. And if you can provide that statement one more time, I don't think we all heard you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Basically, we are doing our deck because our current one is deteriorating. So it's going to be in the same spot. We're just making it a little larger.
Okay, you're going to make it a little larger, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, are there any hardships why it needs to be in the same spot?
Just because the fire escape, that door is up there that goes onto the deck.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Can you clarify, you said that you're increasing the size of the deck? I didn't see anything in the dimensions.
Yes. Currently, I don't have the information. I would estimate it to be about 5 or 6 by 7. We're going to increase it to 10 by 11 just because it's too small to really put anything out there but a grill.
Okay.
I have no further questions.
Okay.
I don't think I have any questions at this time either.
Okay. Is there anyone here in favor or opposition?
I do not see any hands at this time, so I have put the petitioner on mute so the board can take their vote.
Okay, in the case of 80-24, I make a motion to approve the variance to replace the existing deck, increasing the size to 11 by 10, noting the hardship of a safety concern with the deterioration of the existing materials.
I second it. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, the motion passes. Thank you.
81-24, Mike Dobson is a request for an exception to the front yard regulations for the purpose of repairing a deck and stairs at 4713 Hanover Avenue, maintaining a front yard of 12 feet in lieu of 20 feet as required by the R5 Residence District Regulations of the St. Louis County Zoning Ordinance. I have requested that you unmute yourself, Mr. Donald. Please state your name to the board and proceed with your case.
Donald Wilson, Wilson Contracting, representing Michael Dodson, 4713 Hanover. St. Louis County requested the front deck boards be replaced upon occupancy inspection. We only have a 12.5-foot setback. 20 is required. The house was built in 1916, so.
Okay. Wow, and you're basically replacing
Just
the
replacing
decking
the deck boards, yeah.
in
We're not
the
enlarging.
exact area.
Yeah,
Right.
we're not enlarging anything, just putting new deck boards down.
Okay.
I'm assuming I'm not super familiar with this area, but do most of the houses have the same type of setback issue?
This one actually sets back further than most of them.
Okay. Yep, that's what I figured. All right, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions?
I have no questions.
Okay. Is there anyone here in favor or opposition?
I do not see any hands at this time, so I'll put the petition on mute so the board can make their vote.
Okay. 81-24, I vote to approve the variance as advertised, and the hardship being the need to replace the deck boards and put it in the same spot.
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, the motion passes. Thank you.
That's all that we have today.
Okay, wonderful.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the Board of Zoning Adjustment.
That motion?
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. It
Aye.
passes. See you guys in 2 weeks.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great week.
Okay.
Bye.
Happy holidays.
Take care. You too. Bye-bye.